Welcome to Stache Sports, episode 39. Willie Parker wore 39 for the Pittsburgh Steelers. That was a great running back duo back when the Steelers won the Super Bowl 40 with Willie Parker and Jerome Bettis. That was a great duo. Willie Parker had over 5,000 rushing yards and 29 touchdowns for the Steelers, which is good. He was a good running back. To have a fast running back to help complement a power back like Jerome Bettis, who's my favorite running back of all time. That was a good duo. The Steelers have a good duo now with Jaylen Warren and Kenneth Gainwell. They also need to re-sign Kenneth Gainwell because Kenneth Gainwell was on a prove-it deal last year, but looks like the team MVP and was one of the better players on the team. So hopefully they can continue the running game. It'll be also interesting if Caleb Johnson can do anything for the Steelers run game this year, but that'll be something else down the road. Willie Parker was a great Steeler player to wear 39. Most recent memory from a decent player was Minka Fitzpatrick, who a couple years ago the Steelers traded for him from the Miami Dolphins, and he was a good safety while he was here for a few years, but last year he didn't really do so much. It might have been the system he was in, but he didn't really do so much. They traded him this year and got Jalen Ramsey and Johnny Smith. Jalen Ramsey had a good year for the Steelers, in my opinion. There's a couple games he didn't do so good in, but overall he was decent. But in my opinion, Johnny Smith wasn't that decent, but we'll see. But Fast Willie Parker was a great 39 number to wear. And so was Minka Fitzpatrick. But last night, the Penguins lost to the Ottawa Senators. But for some reason this year, the Ottawa Senators seem to be the Penguins' kryptonite, and the Penguins could not get past the Ottawa Senators. The Penguins, even though they tied it up, looked good last night. They were getting outshot by the Senators. So that's not good. That's something they need to fix up before they play the Islanders tonight. I know they were on a 6-game winning streak, but and losses come. That was a tough loss. They need to bounce back tonight with Stuart Skinner because Arthur Shelosh played last night and looked pretty good, but we'll see. A lot of people are going to be talking about that last play that I saw, the goaltender interference play. I think it was goaltender interference against the Penguins. I know Carlson tripped him up, and he ran into the goaltender and dislodged the net. But the Ottawa Senators scored before that when the net was getting dislodged. I think they should have kept the call they did before the commercial break and not called a goal, but they changed it, and the Penguins challenged it and lost. But luckily, we're enough not to get scored again and only lost by a goal. 3-2 to the Ottawa Senators. Ottawa's looking really good right now, but the Penguins need to bounce back. They have 2 more games before the before the Winter Olympic break. And they're both on the road. They had their last home game last night. Tonight they played another game, back-to-back games, which was rough after the loss. They played the New York Islanders tonight. The Penguins have been on a 6-game win streak, and Coach Dan Muse has turned them around after tough losses. Let's see what Coach Dan Muse can do tonight. And it's going to be on TNT Sports, so they're on national TV tonight. But it'll be interesting to see what Coach Dan Muse does and how the Penguins regroup. They're looking pretty good. They need to continue to go back on their winning ways. They got tonight and they got Thursday night against the Buffalo Sabres before the NHL break, before the NHL winter break. And on Friday, we'll talk more about the Olympic teams and the USA Hockey and other hockey national teams and their lineups on Friday's episode. And later on, we'll talk more about the Super Bowl this week, too, in the weekend's episodes. But let's hope the Penguins can regroup tonight. I think Crosby can get back on the board tonight. Moe can get back on the board. I don't think Brian Rust isn't playing right now because he's been suspended. But we'll see. Hopefully one of these younger Penguins like Connor Dewar or Ben Kendall can get up on a goal tonight too. It's going to be a tough game bouncing back after a tough loss. But I believe in the Penguins and I believe they can do it. But we will see. The Penguins play tonight on 7:30 on TNT against the New York Islanders, and I think the Penguins bounce back with Stuart Skinner and goaltender. Stuart Skinner's looking pretty good, even though Shelosh's looking pretty good too, but Skinner will be playing tonight since Arthur Shelosh played last night. But I think the Penguins bounce back. I think Crosby gets a goal. I think Wilson gets a goal, but I think they bounce back. And yes, I know I always root for the Penguins, and I've always going to pick the Penguins on my podcast, and it might look bad if they don't win, but when they're winning, it's looking good. They have turned around the season a lot, so I'm not getting upset by this one loss. They don't need to go on a big losing streak here. They need to get back on the winning ways. But this season so far, before the winter break, has changed my mind a lot. I have started becoming under the influence of the people, like of the people on the sportscast, thinking that the Penguins might not be good this year, but they have really changed it around. they were speaking that the Penguins might be trying to fight for a lottery pick to get Gavin McKinnon from Penn State. But they have really turned it around, and let's hope they can continue tonight. Let's hope Ben Kendall can score. Ben Kendall is looking really good. One of the younger Penguin players. I think he's a rookie and he's looking really hot for the Penguins. So with all these moves the Penguins have been doing, if they don't do anything about the trade deadline, or if they do even get more better, I think Kyle Dubas has a high chance of being manager of the year with all the trades he's been doing. He's turned his team around in 1 year with a new coach. The Penguins are looking a lot better, looking like they might finally make a playoff run. And we know the last few years the Penguins have not been looking good and not been doing playoff runs. And near the end of the year, it's just trying to watch the last few games. But this year, there's something different about this team. They could at least make the playoffs. I don't know about winning a series yet, but hopefully they can make the playoffs and continue winning. They're one of the hot stories right now, the Buffalo Sabres, who are also in a playoff spot. And the Buffalo Sabres have been awful of late. But now with new general manager, they've been looking better. But the Penguins are one of the top stories in hockey right now. Another hockey news, here's tonight's picks he can bet on. He can bet on if you bet on my picks or you bet against my picks. My friend Robbie doesn't like my picks, but we'll see about that. He likes my picks. We got the Pens over the Senators. I got the Columbus Blue Jackets over the Devils. It'd be funny to watch the Devils lose. I like watching Barstool Sports, watching Frank the Tank have a meltdown after his team loses. We got the Caps over the Philadelphia Flyers, and I think the Caps are better. I got the Senators bouncing back since the Senators are looking really good over Carolina. Even though Carolina's looking really good and one of the top teams in the East, I think the Senators bounce back after beating the Penguins last night and doing it again. I think the Lightning over the Buffalo Sabres, even though the Buffalo Sabres are looking really good, that's going to be a good game. That can come into overtime. But the Lightning, I think, edge them out. The Lightning had a game a couple days ago in Raymond James Stadium, which I thought was interesting. I thought it might have been really hard for them to do a game in Raymond James Stadium because of the heat in Florida. But luckily, there was nice cold weather for the game this week, and they came back, and the Tampa Bay Lightning came back and beat the Boston Bruins in shootout, I believe, but I could be wrong. But that was a decent game. But anyway, let's go back to my picks. I got the Oilers over the Maple Leafs. That's a Canadian battle. I think the Oilers are better, even though the Maple Leafs are looking decent right now. But I think the Oilers win in a close game. I think it's the under in that one. Like always, I think it's the under, except for the Penguins might be the over. But we'll see. I think the Seattle Kraken beat the Ducks, the Mighty Ducks of Anaheim. But that's going to be a good game. That's a late night game, and that's on TV too. But we'll see what happens with that. It's going to be an interesting hockey night. Also, if you don't like to watch hockey, you can watch the NFL Pro Bowl, which is really weird for me to have the NFL Pro Bowl on a Tuesday. When in years past, the NFL Pro Bowl used to be the Sunday before the Super Bowl, and when losing coaches from the AFC and NFC would coach the Pro Bowlers, and there was a game. Now it's flag football. I got nothing against flag football. I like flag football. I even was a hydration manager for my barber's flag football team, the Orange Crush, who are a pretty good flag football team in Orlando. But I like flag football. That's not the problem. The problem is having it on a Tuesday, a day that people might not know about. Who knows? Who would have known that the Pro Bowl is today? They haven't really advertised it like they used to back in the day when it was on Sundays. And back in the day, when I was growing up, it seemed like the Pro Bowl meant a lot more, and people were out there trying more and doing better. But now it's just the game, in my opinion. But it's on a Tuesday. I mean, we got basketball and hockey. I guess if you don't want to watch that and you don't want to watch anything else, you can watch the Pro Bowl and see Shedeur Sanders and other Pro Bowl players, maybe Joe Burrow and other of them, play well in the Pro Bowl. I think Aaron Rodgers might have made the Pro Bowl too, but I could be wrong. But Shedeur Sanders and others who made the Pro Bowl play a flag football game tonight. But it's also in San Francisco. I mean, who wants to go to San Francisco other than going to the Super Bowl? But we'll see. Other years have been in Hawaii and Orlando. Hawaii is nice to take your family to. In Orlando, if you have kids, you can go to the theme parks after the games. But we'll see. I just think that they should have kept a Pro Bowl on a Sunday, even if it is a flag football and other activities. But I don't know. I just think it's weird to have it on a Tuesday. But that's Roger Goodell's spot. I mean, I'm not going to be watching the Pro Bowl probably. I'll be mostly watching the Penguins hockey game tonight. But the Pro Bowl is tonight if you want to watch that. It's on ESPN at 8 o'clock in San Francisco, California, where the Super Bowl is this year. last night the Super Bowl started off with the kickoff show. The only big news from the NFL Super Bowl this week is that so far from the teams in the Super Bowl is that Robert Kraft, the owner of the Patriots, got his access denied for the Pro Football Hall of Fame as well for the first year. I wonder, going back to a few episodes ago when we talked about Bill Belichick, I wonder if it's because they were cheating and that's their punishment of putting them out a year. I mean, I know it looks bad on the NFL's face, but it's going to put them back in there next year. But I think Bill Belichick and Robert Kraft will get in there 1 year, but not be first ballot Hall of Famers. I wonder if that's due to the fact that they cheated a couple years and got caught, or if they're just not voting for them. But that's interesting that both Belichick and Robert Kraft got their first year access denied. I wonder in a few years when Tom Brady's eligible, if he'll get his first access denied or if he'll be a first ballot Hall of Famer since he's also on those teams too. If it is the cheating that people were talking about and thinking that it might be, but we'll see. Also, the New York Giants and John Harbaugh finally hired their new offensive coordinator and got Matt Nagy. You might remember Matt Nagy. He was the Bears head coach. He wasn't all that good as the Bears, and then went back to the Kansas City Chiefs with Patrick Mahomes. He's the future Hall of Famer and All-Pro quarterback, and didn't really have a good offense there this year, but have had a good offense in the past. So it'll be interesting to see what he can do with Jackson Dart and that, because I believe he'll be calling the plays, unlike the Steelers, whoever they get as offensive coordinator. But I think Matt Nagy will be calling plays. It'll be interesting to see what he can do there and how long he lasts, and how long the Giants hold on to him. But the Giants have a new OC in Matt Nagy. People might not like it because of his past, but we'll see what he can do with him. We'll see what he can do. I'm just surprised that Robert Kraft is getting in the Hall of Fame, even though I'm not a Patriots fan. I wonder if it's because of his cheating. And I wonder how many people are going to watch the Pro Bowl this year, because it's on a Tuesday, and even though it doesn't really mean anything like it did in years past. But the Pro Bowl is on a Tuesday this year, which I think is bad. But we'll see. We'll talk more about the Pro Bowl tomorrow. And later on this week, keep on talking about the Super Bowl that's happening on Sunday, and talk about which halftime show you might watch later on this week, the All-American halftime show or the Bad Bunny halftime show. But we'll talk about that later on this week in later episodes. But if you're watching Pro Bowl, congrats. But let's hope it's a good Pro Bowl tonight, even though it's a flag football game. But we'll see. I'll be watching. I'll be watching the hockey game. I'll be watching probably the hockey game. On Thursday at 3 p.m. in the NBA is the NBA trade deadline. Today so far we had two trades, a three-team trade between the Bulls and Pistons. The Pistons got Jaden Ivey and Mike Conley to the Bulls, and Kevin Hunter the Bulls got Jaden Ivey and Mike Conley, and the Pistons got Hunter and Sarkic to the Pistons in the first round picks. The Jazz also traded Jalen Johnson Jr. The Jazz also traded a lot of players too. They traded a couple players to the Memphis Grizzlies. The Jazz got Jalen Jackson Jr., Jock Orlando, and John Kusher, and Vincent Williams Jr. Memphis got 3 first-round picks, Lloyd Carter Jr., rookie, Kyle Anderson, and Niang, and Taylor Hendricks and Niang. I didn't know Niang still played basketball, but I think the Memphis Grizzlies are trying to tank to get a good picks and try to build up in the future with that. The Jazz might have got a little better in the Western, but there's a lot of better teams in the Western than the Jazz. I don't know if these trades really help both of these teams today. It's going to be interesting to see. Hopefully we get bigger name trades later on and we can break them on slash boards when they happen. Like, there's a lot of talk like Giannis Antetokounmpo might be traded. Antetokounmpo might be traded. Another big name. So we'll see if it's more big names later on. But so far, those are the 3 trades, and I'll try to get better at pronouncing names in my video tomorrow if there's more trades. Here's my picks for tonight. I got the Boston Celtics over the Dallas Mavericks because the Dallas Mavericks haven't been looking really good. and they lost Luka, one of the best players last year. And the Celtics have been looking really good, but the Celtics have been looking better, even though they've been either winning or not winning a couple games. But the Celtics are over the mat. The Celtics win. I think Derek White has a big game, has a 30-night game, and Jaylen Brown has a bigger game too. But we'll see. I think the Celtics beat the Mavericks, and I think it's going to be a close win. I got Detroit over Denver because Detroit is looking like one of the better teams this year, and they're looking like one of the better teams in the East. The Pistons are making Detroit's basketball look really good this year, and I think they continue. I got the Indian Pacers over the Jazz. Even though the Indian Pacers aren't looking that good this year, I think they squeak one out tonight in a close game over the Jazz. I got the New York over the Washington Wizards. I got the Lakers over the Nets. I got the Heat over Atlanta, which my friend Robbie liked that because he's a big Heat fan because he's from Florida. But I got the Heat over Atlanta. I got the Bucks over the Bulls. I got the Thunder over the Magic. The Thunder are looking really good. They won last year's championship and looking like they could be a team to compete. And they got a lot of draft picks and have a good general manager, Sam Presti, who managed all the draft picks and made them to a super team now. Look, a couple years ago, the Thunder were okay, but now we're a championship team. It could go back-to-back, which would be interesting. Oklahoma City Thunder looking really good, and I think they beat over the Magic in a close game, but it's going to be a good game tonight. God damn it. I got the Warriors over the Sixers. And yes, one of my viewers, baseball kids, said, why am I not a Sixers fan? I don't mind the Sixers. My best friend Jake, my barber, gave me a Dr. J jersey from the Sixers, but I don't mind the Sixers. I just didn't really like the Sixers growing up because they're from Philadelphia. And I like the Celtics. And then I got the Suns over Portland because the Suns are looking really good over the Portland Trail Blazers, but we'll see what happens with that. And how many more trades we get in the NHL and the NBA before the trade deadline happens. But it's going to be an interesting time when the Olympics happen, but we won't have hockey. Hopefully the Penguins don't cool down, even though they lost last night. And hope they can get back on their winning tracks tonight. And hope they can get back on their winning ways tonight. But we'll see. Also, it's going to be interesting to see the Pro Bowl and see all the people playing flag football. Can't believe that Shedeur Sanders is in the Pro Bowl. That's ironic. That's interesting because other people don't want to play in the Pro Bowl because, like I said, it's in California and their bodies all bringed up from the season, but they don't want to play because it doesn't really mean anything like it has in years past. So that's why Shedeur Sanders is in it. But it'll be interesting to see how the Pro Bowl goes and what else happens for the Super Bowl. I'm excited about the Super Bowl is happening on Sunday, but we'll see what happens with that. We'll see what happens. Hopefully the Penguins can bounce back, like I said, tonight and win. They need to bounce back after last night, and hopefully they can get more shots on goal and look a lot better. They looked a little gassed last night, but they need to bounce back tonight. But we will see. So far, there's no news on the NFL Steelers. Scott Tolzien, who was rumored to be one of our OCs, turned down the offer and is going to stay as the quarterback coach of the Saints. But there's been no other news besides other staff members. And once the staff's full, I'll be breaking that down on this podcast too. More about this on this podcast too, but we'll see. We'll see what happens with that. Tomorrow we'll talk more about sports and other stuff. Also, the Pittsburgh Panthers play in basketball tonight and are not looking that good, but maybe be able to win tonight, but I don't know. But tomorrow we'll talk more about college basketball and how UCF's men's basketball team is looking really good this year and compared to years past when they played tomorrow. And I'll give you my predictions on tomorrow's podcast, who I think if UCF's going to pull out and never win. But they're looking really good. And also I'll talk more about sports on tomorrow's episode of Stache Sports. But this is Stache Sports episode 39 signing off. Thank you for watching. Please leave comments below. But thank you for watching my videos and sharing. This is Stache Sports signing off.